Yep, okay. Welcome everybody to this special planning board meeting, February 19th, 2026. Can everybody who's able rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, can you please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with respect to this meeting of the Township of Verona Planning Board, which is being held in the ballroom of the Verona Community Center located at 880 Bloomfield Avenue, Verona. Specifically, the time and date were included in the annual notice of meetings. This information, along with the meeting agenda, was posted in the municipal building and on the legal notices webpage for the Township website, and sent to the official newspapers of the Township, the Verona Cedar Grove Times and the Star Ledger, at least 48 hours preceding the start time of this meeting. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at the Township's website. Instructions on how to comment will be provided at the appropriate time. Those wishing to speak during any public comment period should only provide their name and municipality. Street addresses are not required. Please be advised that should a member of the public choose to state their street address, it will not be redacted from this recording.
Thank you. Can you please take the roll call?
Mr. Day?
Here.
Mr. Magarel?
Here.
Mrs. Parker? Here. Mr. Lilly?
Here.
Mr. Fresky?
Here.
Mr. Kamudi? Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Present.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Here.
Mayor Tamburo?
Here.
Vice Chair Heineman? Chair Pearson?
Here.
Attorney Mr. Massara?
Here.
Ms. Mish?
Here.
And myself, Mrs. Garber.
Thank you. Joining us as well this evening are San Siobhan from H2M and Dan the Man. And what's the name? What's the name of your company again?
Oh, T&M Associates. T&M Associates.
T&M. Thank you. Okay. Where are we now? I will entertain opening to the public. However, we have no members of the public. So I don't know whether, do I have to open to the public if there's no members of the public?
You're good. Keep going.
All right. Moving right along, approval of minutes. Did everybody receive a copy of the January 22nd, 2026 meeting minutes? Does anybody have any?
Adopt as written. Second.
I think we could just do a voice vote.
That's fine.
All members that approve the meeting minutes, please say aye. With the hand raised. Anybody not approve? Anybody abstain? Okay, moving on to resolutions. Back in December, we certified a new list of open space properties. Has everybody read through the memorialization of resolution to certify the new properties? I'll make a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Fresky seconds. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Magarel?
Yes.
Only those who voted in favor of this is the resolution, so only those who voted in favor of the action can vote on the resolution.
Okay.
Oh, so that wouldn't have.
So just abstain.
It was before.
Yeah.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Fresky?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Yes.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo,
Abstain.
and Chair Pearson.
Yes. The motion passes. Next resolution, 2026-06, finding 320 Bloomfield Avenue redevelopment plan not inconsistent with the master plan. Any questions on this resolution? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
The mayor makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor McAvoy. Can we get a roll call vote? Sorry.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Magarel?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
Chair Pearson.
Yes, but you have to ask Mr. Fresky, and he
Mr.
has to-
Fresky
You were absent.
Abstain.
and Township Manager O'Sullivan.
Abstain.
Okay, and the motion passes. And finally, Resolution 2026-07, a planning board recommendation to the council that 420 Bloomfield Avenue be determined as an area in need of redevelopment, meeting criteria D and H. Can I, any questions about the resolution? Can I please get a motion to approve? Mr. Day makes the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Magarel?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Fresky?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Yes.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Abstain.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
Chair Pearson.
Yes, the motion passes. We are now going to move, as a matter of fact, I'm going to put the housing element first, if you don't mind. Dan is going to discuss the updates to that. Everybody has received a rough draft of that. This does not, just to be clear, contain any of the appendices, because many of those appendices are still in the process of either being finalized, and some of them have not even gone to the town council yet. Some are going to the council on Monday night. But I think that you may receive them well in advance of that anyway, before they pass first reading at the town council level, so that you could be prepared for the meeting next Thursday. Right? I had another question before we give the meeting over to Dan. Mr. Halbin. Can you make sure that after the meeting tonight, you email Jen a copy of the resolution so that they can move forward with second readings on Monday? I had it in my mind and I had to get it out. Mr. Halbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Dan Halvin, T&M Associates, I think last time you all saw me, I was with DMR Architects, but I am still here carrying the torch as your affordable housing planner. My computer locked me out. There we go. Yes, as Jessica stated, I'm here tonight to kind of give you a first talking to, I guess, about the amended fourth round housing plan. It is going to be coming back before you on March 5th, March 3rd for adoption.
Dan, when does that have to go up onto our website for public consumption?
Just about to say,
Okay.
it is going out actually tomorrow morning, afternoon, depending on, if there are any comments that need to be implemented tonight. Yes, so the March 3rd meeting has to be noticed 10 days. There has to be special notice to the county and the state 10 days before the meeting, which is, I think, Sunday. So we have to get it out tomorrow. It is being noticed in the newspapers, so we're all good there. The state is requiring us to adopt this amendment by March 15th, which is why We are on the time frame that we're on. Everything is very compact in terms of when everything is taking place. So, we're doing our best to to keep the town in compliance. So, as I was saying, last time I was here was June 19th, 2025, where I was here to present you the then fourth round housing element and fair share plan for adoption that we had to have adopted before June 30th in order to maintain compliance and protect ourselves from exposure to builders' remedy lawsuits. Under the state's Fair Housing Act, the interested parties would have until August 31st, right? There's 31 days in August, right? Yeah. To challenge the affordable housing plan. And we had 3 challengers to that plan, which triggered a series of meetings between myself, San, Jamie Placzek, who couldn't be here tonight. He's the Affordable Housing Counsel from Dakota's Law, Mr. O'Sullivan, with the parties, which were Fair Share Housing Center, which is a nonprofit advocacy group for affordable housing in New Jersey, and sort of the catalyst for the chaos in the affordable housing world over the last 15 years. Yeah. A&R Skyline, which is the owner of 885 Bloomfield Avenue, and JMF Properties, which sort of came out of nowhere as a contract purchaser for 251.5 Grove Avenue. And just to backtrack a little bit, through a mediation process back in the spring of 2025, we settled with Fair Share Housing Center to get the township's affordable housing obligation to 155 units that have to be, that is the share of the amount of affordable housing in this 4-county region of the state that was allocated to Verona by the DCA after correcting for some mistakes in the DCA's mapping. We went through a process called the vacant land analysis, where we determined that realistically, just due to how built out the Verona Township is, at the time our analysis came to determine that the township could only create 58 affordable units over the next 10 years. Under the state rules, we have to provide a plan that address that 58, as well as 25% of the difference between 155 and 58. So just to make it easy, we had to write a plan that addressed 58 units plus 25 units from what is called the unmet need. So we did that, and that was the plan that I presented to you in June. The challenges from the 3 parties that I identified before, actually there was a 4th party. There was DMH2, which is the owner of 176 Bloomfield Avenue, but they withdrew their challenge and it didn't make any difference on our plan. But for Fair Share Housing Center, A&R Skyline, and JMF Properties, the challenges, the nature of the challenges were with respect to the vacant land analysis. There's disagreement in the methodology of how we conducted that, which we were able to settle. A&R Skyline took issue with the fact that the plan that we adopted in June had them at a minimum of 19 total units, which would have created a minimum of 4 affordable units. So they wanted the affordable housing program, the state agency kind of mediating these challenges, to make the town zone their property for between 38 and 60 units. And JMF Property, whose property 251.5 Grove was also in our plan for 125 assisted living beds, wanted the program to make us own their property for 180, give or take, independent living senior units. So after several mediation sessions, which were moderated by Beth McManus, she was the special adjudicator. She's also a licensed planner in New Jersey and very respectable as far as the special adjudicators go, especially, and a retired affordable housing judge who was assigned by the affordable housing program. After over several mediation sessions with all those parties, we were able to settle at a new vacant land analysis, a new realistic development potential, we call it RDP, of 67 units, which is versus the 58 we had in June. A&R Skyline for 885 Bloomfield Avenue, we were able to settle with them to have them, to have the township zone their property for 28 units, of which, 28 townhouses, of which 3 would be family townhouses, meaning anybody could move into them, and 1 would be a group home with 3 bedrooms for special needs individuals. The township would facilitate a connection and potentially offer some funding from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to facilitate that arrangement with them. So that's 6 affordable housing credits plus bonuses from that property. And then JMF, we negotiated to, rather than have 180 independent living or 125 assisted living beds, which didn't actually help us much toward our plan, we negotiated for 84 family townhouses, of which 17 would be affordable. And what that brings us to is a plan where we have to address an RDP of 67 units. Of course, my PDFs are crashing on me. 67 units, and we're addressing that with 74 units and bonus credits. Bonus credits are granted for redevelopment of sites, proximity to transit, or for sites that have special needs housing units. So that gives us 7 more units that we need, which will carry into the 5th round, should it happen in 10 years, which it will likely happen, and make our lives easier 10 years down the road. We also continue to have to plan for 25% of the difference between 155 and 67, which is 22 units. We were forced to use the TCMU overlay zone that was adopted several years ago toward a portion of that, and a remainder of that is being addressed through the rezoning of the TC zone, which, or not the rezoning, an amendment to the TC zone, which I guess is being discussed tonight, to remove the current requirement that 50% of a mixed-use development in the TC zone has to be comprised of commercial space. So that would mean that if you wanted two residential stories over 1 story of commercial, you really are doing 1.5 stories of residential over 1.5 stories of commercial, which is not common in mixed-use development, hard to market. Now we're allowing 2 over 1, which is much more conducive to mixed-use development. So that is the arrangement that we have arrived at with the parties. That's what we've settled at. I think, given how things are going in other parts of the state, this is probably the best case scenario that we could have ended up with. There was another thing I was going to say. There's also some other slight changes from the plan that was adopted in June, which is that a new project came around called 21-25 Grove Avenue, which is before the Zoning Board of Adjustment right now. They're looking for approval for 11 townhouses, of which 2 would be affordable, and that also gets a bonus credit due to proximity to a bus stop. And the number of units at 420 Bloomfield Avenue was in the prior plan at a minimum of 45 units, and now it is represented in this plan at a full 65 units, which gives us 10 affordable housing units and 5 bonus credits. That's a lot of math. And I hope you followed along. In normal times, I would have loved to give you a PowerPoint breaking this all out, but unfortunately, these are not normal times, just in terms of the constraints that Verona and every other town in New Jersey is dealing with right now. But I think I've covered in a very complex way the difference between what you had before you today and what you had before you in June. And as I said, this is going to be available to the public tomorrow. It's going to be sent to the county and the state tomorrow, and it's going to be before you for adoption on March 3rd. On that same meeting, I believe you will be reviewing another ordinance that I present that's being introduced on Monday, which is the affordable housing, the amendments to the affordable housing and development fee ordinances, and those are ordinances that dictate how affordable housing must be built in the township, and the collection and spending of revenues into and out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We are required to comply with new rules out from the Department of Community Affairs and HMFA in New Jersey. And we are also required per the settlement to amend the current ordinance to require that any multifamily development of 5 or more units in town, regardless of it, if it's in this plan, has to set aside 20% of the units for affordable housing. And then there's obviously all the lovely zoning and redevelopment plans that Sam has been discussing with you. So having said that, I think I've said a lot. I'm going to open this up to questions and clarifications. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Daniel, Jim Day, a quick question. And thanks for your mathematical wonder right there with all the information. But regarding Hillwood, how did you get the 12 units out of Hillwood? I know you had some units already attached to it, and there's 159 units there. How did you decide to add 12 or what's?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, that's another thing that's different from the last plan where we were using 8 units out of Hillwood, and now we are using 12 out of Hillwood toward our 4th round obligation. So we, up to 30% of the units being used in our plan can be senior development. So when we, sounded like a guitar broke. When we presented in June, we were presenting with the assumption that the 251.5 Grove was going to be assisted living, which would have counted toward our 30% cap. Now that that property is going to be family, we have more wiggle room to take units from Hillwood Senior Living toward our plan. However, if we were to use, the 12 units is actually less than the 30%. If we were to use more than 30%, it would cause imbalances in other parts of our plan. So there's supposed to be a certain amount of units in your plan have to be available to families, but we have made arrangements with 885 and 383 Bloomfield to have special needs housing in there, which eat away at that ratio. And so if we were to have more senior units from Hillwood counting toward our plan, it would have been to the detriment of other ratios. So there are still, assuming Hillwood continues to be affordable for the next 10 years and beyond, there will be, well, actually, I guess 20 years, they will be the balance of however many units we have left that we haven't used in this plan and the last plan will be available in the 5th round toward that plan.
To his question, what you just said, like we would have too many, do special needs units kind of fall into the category of senior housing? I mean, because it sounds like you're counting it under the same basket or in the same basket.
No, it's more so that
you needed more family housing.
Yeah, it's like, if we have 10 unit obligation, 5 of the units are family, 3 are senior, 2 are special needs. We don't really have room we would have to find more family units in order to make the balance in that work.
Dan, I just have a question. First of all, I want to commend you on the clarity and the presentation of the document.
Thank you.
Very well written, very easy to follow. So
Great.
Thank you for that. With the RDP includes redevelopment potential.
Yeah.
Okay. When we talk about unmet need, we talk about a possible with an overlay zone.
Yeah.
How do you make the distinction when you're talking about, so the overlay zone doesn't count as part of the equation. So how do you make the distinction? Aren't they one and the same in reality?
Yeah, it is. This was a core argument and disagreement between us and Fair Share Housing Center during the beginning of this process. But I'm going to go through tell you a story, I guess. So when I did the vacant land analysis back in 2025, I was doing it literally, taking the statute literally, which is you take account for land that is vacant and available, that is vacant and that doesn't have obstructions to being developed. That is what got us to the 57 units. According to Fair Share Housing Center's interpretation and case law, that I think is being misinterpreted, frankly. Any developer that comes before the municipality and says, I want to redevelop this property, that property is, according to them, falls into the vacant and available category. So The difference between a 383 Bloomfield, for example, where a developer is actively engaging with the municipality, and properties that we're just putting overlays on where no one has specifically come to the town, the latter can be used toward unmet need because it's on lands that no one is actually actively trying to develop at the moment.
So it's an artificial distinction. You don't necessarily agree with that distinction?
I don't. I think the statute is pretty clear, but not everyone agrees with me. So
Do you mind?
you can press your button. Though.
So the thing is, the way Fair Share has been dealing with all these municipalities is an unmet need. They understand that you don't have the resources, so they feel an overlay would be satisfactory. But RDP, they want what they say is realistic. I think that's the fundamental difference in how it gets interpreted. Neither Dan nor I agree, but we're somehow faced with it.
Yeah. RDP is likely to be, shovels in the ground in 2 years. Unmet need could be 10 years, could be 20 years, but you're putting an opportunity out there.
But the same properties fit the definition.
No comment.
How are you juggling providing enough of a surplus in case one of these projects were to drop out? Like, is there some type of, I think maybe like a safe harbor for the fifth round or something that you're able to?
So that's an interesting question. So we do have a surplus of the 7 units that we shouldn't have to use, but what's interesting about that question is if one of these redevelopers who are actively engaging in this process, or even 2125 Grove, who's before the zoning board, decides they don't want to do it, the question is that still vacant and available according to the interpretation I disagree with? And if it's not, the RDP goes down, let's say 3 units, or however many units we're going to come out of project, the RDP goes down that many units as well. So we theoretically, it makes a net zero difference. It might change a couple of things because we may be able to claim fewer bonuses from other properties because
Right.
the bonuses are a percentage of how many your obligation is, but that is to be seen. Yeah,
Okay. And is that your interpretation or theirs?
that's mine.
Okay.
And I will fight to the death over it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And actually, to that point, I stated this back in June, but I'll restate it now, that in 2030, there's a look-back period where if something doesn't work out, if one of these developers who were doing all these redevelopment plans for, doesn't do their part of actually, putting shovels in the ground, we have an opportunity to take them out. And whether we have to replace them one for one is a question for 2030. In that case.
Justin, any question? Deputy Mayor? No? No. All right, I have a couple of questions, really quick. 251 and a half Grove Avenue, were we given an extension because obviously we have been incapable of getting onto the site to do the area in need of redevelopment, the snow on the ground, et cetera. So is there any success in getting that portion of the plan extended by the special master, or?
I can answer that. So we were unable to get on the site. We were able to get in today. There are statutory requirements in terms of when the report should be ready. And Beth McManus is somebody, like Dan said, very respected. She and I were in conversation, and I sent her pictures, and she said, "This is tundra." So she said, when you go ahead and ask for an extension, she said, I would be supportive. And if I'm not mistaken, and I will defer to Mr. O'Sullivan, but I believe our attorney yesterday was talking to the court or something. Was it yesterday or?
He was in contact with the court clerk yesterday, in the process of filing the extension. I don't have a copy of the extension request at this time, but he was in process. And as Hassan had mentioned, we did have support from the special adjudicator for the extension. So we are hopeful and expecting that we should be receiving an extension, at least specific to 251.
Do you know when we'll know that? We can't really put a fire under their ass, huh? Okay.
We'll have that, we'll circulate that memo.
Probably March 16th.
Right, March 16th, you're right. So accordingly, tomorrow, I just want to kind of get our ducks in a row here. You are going to be sending a plan with the addendum that have been appropriately passed up until then, or are you leaving that blank and just putting up this particular draft?
To the extent that ordinances have been passed,
You can include
I
them.
would like to include them, yes.
Okay.
ideally.
And that will get sent to the clerk of the township
Yeah,
and to Dee Dee for posting. So
Yes.
we can get Elisa to get that up tomorrow. I really would like to ensure that the public has as much, I know it's not that long of a document compared to the first one, but
Yeah.
it really, if we can get that up, I'd be happy about that.
yeah, to the extent that we have the ordinances or redevelopment plans or whatever we're talking about, they will be in that packet. My light's blinking, I don't know what it means. There's one thing that will not, two things that I can tell you will not be in the packet going out tomorrow that will hopefully be available prior to the planning board meeting. One is the spending plan, which is a document that is really for the council to act on, but what it does is it says how much money is in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund right now, how much we're expecting realistically over the next 10 years to come in to the trust fund, and how we're going to spend it to implement the plan. And all it's really going to say is that there's funding that the township is going to be using to pay off debt from the prior round that was collected for the Verona Flats project. And there will be some money set aside, at least preliminarily, to assist with the special needs that's going to 885 Bloomfield Avenue. And then there's another set of documents, the affirmative marketing plan and the operating manuals, which are handled by the Affordable Housing Administrative Agent, also not really something that the planning board has any influence over or any interest in. I think it's really just regulatory statements on how the administrative agent is going to comply with state regulations on making sure that the appropriate people are being made aware of affordable housing, and that affordable units are being operated according to state rules. They will certainly be available, they have to be passed by the mayor and council before March 15th. I think that meeting is the 10th.
So my question is are those two articles of our zoning code going to the council this Monday night?
Yes. The affordable housing ordinance and the development fee ordinance, if you're referring to, those are going to the council on Monday night.
So my question is, why are they on our agenda the same night that we have the adoption? Why aren't they on the regular February 26th agenda? If you've already sent them out, then much like the redevelopment ordinances that San drafted that are also being heard by the council, that are also being heard by this board next Thursday, are going to be sent by Dee Dee to the board members for their review. So why is that on March 3rd and not next?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that I made that decision.
I think Dee Dee has decided that it's going next Thursday.
Yeah, you're talking about
It is.
the development fee and the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Articles
those-
19 and 21 of the zoning code.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are scheduled
okay,
for the
that's going-
26th.
Okay, so.
Okay, I wasn't aware. Sorry.
Okay, so really quickly, for the next meeting, tonight you're doing 176 in the town center zone. The next meeting, it's going to be a redevelopment plan for 885 Bloomfield Avenue for 420 Bloomfield Avenue, which is
TCMU
Richfield.
zone. TCMU zone.
The TCMU zone, which you said is the only
Only
change,
changes, yes, 20%.
it's going from 15 to 20% set aside, everything else remains the same.
Yeah.
And the two parts of our zoning code, and these are all consistency reviews.
That's right.
So that's next Thursday. And then the only thing on our agenda, so far as we know, for the special meeting March 3rd, which is the following Tuesday, is the adoption hearing for the HEFSP. Did I say that correctly? Quick question about the spending and the affordable housing element, not elements, articles from our zoning code. Are all of those required, basically, you said that you were waiting for the state to put out some sort of a template.
Yeah,
So is 99% of that dictated by the state?
yeah.
Was there anything in there that is, I guess, original to Verona, or is it all state?
No, there is what you have is, in the development fee ordinance is, actually both ordinances are, I'd say
Tailored?
70-30, 70% from the new stuff from the state, 30% what was originally there. But there's not a lot in there that is flexible. The one thing that is flexible that I think the township has interest in is the residential development fee, and what is exempt from the development fee. But other than that, everything is sort of boilerplate language from the state.
So it's all mandatory, basically?
Yes.
Okay. Are you available next Thursday? Maybe I should have
My
asked that
wife
first.
might murder me, but yeah,
Okay, so we're going to see you like
we're going to see a lot of it.
Thursday and then Tuesday, the following Tuesday, March 3rd.
Yes.
And then you're going to have to be at the council meetings and all that other stuff, maybe.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah.
Next week was going to be the one week that I didn't have 3 meetings, but now that's.
Yeah. All right, are there any other questions?
I would like to add something.
Sure.
This template that the state prepared
For
They-
those two articles?
did not give us that until February 13th, which was last Friday.
Yeah.
So which is one of the reasons why we've been all scrambling.
The state is so messed up.
And yes, so I just want to put that,
No better way to say it.
and it's unfortunate that you guys have been inundated with all this, but so have we with Verona and everything else. So,
To give you guys a lot of credit.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question, because I know, with this plan, we're talking about all these houses, housing that we're going to be building. We have to read some documents about stormwater. Is this all the things that we're talking about in here have been validated, the stormwater coverage and everything in those particular developments will be,
No, when those come before the planning board, they're going to go through the same review process that any other application would come before, so they will be subject to the same stormwater scrutiny as any other application, and that'll be handled at that point where they come for you for approval.
For Verona, right? Like Verona standards or?
Yes. And
we have this
obviously,
Hillcrest report that came out, that was reviewing the Hillcrest report, but we don't have it for every one of the other developments, just for this one.
it seems counterintuitive to allow X amount of coverage and expect them to be able to feasibly live up to our code, but that's their problem. We have to uphold the standards that we put in place. And it's up to them to
Approve it?
get it done.
Okay.
And I'm not budging.
That question's been asked before, but I think it's, if they can't do it, then we have to just figure something else out. That property could be built upon for X, Y, Z reason. Is that correct? They would just have to figure out where else to put the units.
I'm sorry, I was making sure that I had this in the next week in my calendar. Ask that one more time.
So I think the biggest concern is the property, is the,
Hillcrest?
not the Hillcrest, up Bloomfield Avenue, right across the street, actually.
885.
Yeah, like if that couldn't comply with stormwater management, I think we've discussed this before, then we would just have to figure out something else, or mesh units, or.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what the agreement with them says, but I think there's a requirement that they have to comply with it. You know, everything that we've done with them to date has been based on them telling us that they can make it work with stormwater. So to the extent that they can't, you know, I think that there's a renegotiation that takes place at that point.
And again, these redevelopment plans are like ordinances. We are required to comply with what the state asked us to do, well, they didn't ask us, they mandated us to do. When it comes at the site plan review stage, as it will, that's when these units, like what's really feasible, because none of these plans, they're all concept, they're not engineered. So that's important.
Yeah.
And I will just add, one of the biggest problems, I think, with this whole mandated affordable housing is that, we have a DEP that works incredibly hard at getting sustainable rules written on the books. And then we have this other faction that's fighting really hard to create more housing for people that need it and people that can't afford it. And these two people have not spoken to one another. Like, they are on opposite sides of the street, and they refuse to actually have a real discussion. And as a result, your question is perfect, because that's exactly what's happening. There is no actual communication
Well, keep in
happening.
mind that Fair Share Housing Corporation is a private entity. It's not a state agency.
Right.
It's a private entity that controls the state. through
Yeah.
Whatever means they got, where they are, but they control everything. They, in my limited experience, but I think you hear it from the professionals, everybody defers to them. And it's deferment to them, what they want, what they demand, and they seem to get whatever they want. So it's not the DEP, the DEP obviously protects the environmental interests of the state, but if there is, they're not two state
Governmental
entities,
entities, right,
governmental
right.
entities, so.
So there's right. Still, there should be an understanding that because they're fighting for an unmet need, if you will, in the state of New Jersey, they can't plow over, every rule that we have on the books that protect everyone else in the state of New Jersey from flood, panic, fire, all the other natural disasters and catastrophes that could occur, which is part of MLUL. So a lot of this does not make sense. I appreciate the question that you asked.
I would love to also add something, because when we were in the negotiation settlement process, apart from Mr. O'Sullivan, there wasn't anyone present. So one of the things I really want to make clear, we spoke about A&R Skyline, the original proposal they came with and how we negotiated down was very substantial. We spoke about the slopes, especially we spoke about slopes, stormwater, parking, impact, everything, and we reduced it more than half of what they had originally proposed. And I would give a lot of credit to our special adjudicator, because when we would tell her, she understood. We prepared reports. My office prepared a report justifying our position. And another thing I want to point out, because there are two redevelopment plans, like 885 will get introduced on Monday. The second one is that Deputy Mayor and Madam Chair will have to recuse themselves, but even those units we reduced substantially and insisted on stormwater management regulations, because this is very important that we can't, like what Ms. Pearson said, you can't just pave over. So, but please know that, when we were having us discussions, very concerned about really planning and how it affects any kind of development.
Are there any other questions related to this plan? Any updated plan will be posted to the township website tomorrow, if any updates are being made. Otherwise, I think you have the final product without all the addendums. But the addendums will be comprised of things that you've already reviewed, like the 383 Bloomfield Avenue redevelopment plan, the redevelopment plan before you this evening, the town center, and all of the ones to come next week. But for 251.5 and 2125, which is before the Board of Adjustment. So you're welcome to hang, but if there are no other questions, I think Sam's going to take over the meeting, and if you want to get home to your angry wife.
Should probably give her a half hour. Oh, Sam, do you need me tonight?
It's up to you. I mean,
You're welcome to stay.
you're welcome to stay.
I want to put my son to sleep.
Go, that's
You
fine.
good?
Yeah. And I can call you if I need to tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, everybody. You can call me while I'm driving home if you need.
What agenda are you? You were at the end of these. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Oh,
the
sure.
thing is that they may have comments. I'm going to actually just, Dan, thank you very much again.
Yeah, of course.
Give your son a hug, good night from us all.
I will.
Strange people,
See you next week. So the next item on our agenda, and I didn't, by the way, I would have opened to public comment if there was any members of the public here. There are none, so I'm skipping that facet. The next thing we're going to talk about is the town center zone amendments. Do you want to just do a broad brushstroke over it?
So, if you recall, when I was here at the January meeting, we had this town center zone as a discussion item. When we were preparing the master plan 4 years ago, one of our things was how do we revitalize the town center zone? How do we, Bloomfield Avenue corridor is really an important part and identity of Verona, and how do we do that without turning it into one of those towns where it changes the character? So we've been working with the governing body, I think since 2024, so it's long time coming, and we had to take a break because of the affordable housing, and what this ordinance does is it introduces new zones, uses in the TC zone, adds a list of prohibited uses, parking regs, operational standards, and most importantly, based on the settlement agreement and the special adjudicator, it also, there are two things we've introduced. One, that 50% residential and non-residential that Dan was talking about, and a density requirement, which he had asked to provide a sliding scale. We had discussed that with the governing body, and that's pretty much what it does. So what I did then is, the MLUL pursuant to subsection 26 requires us to see whether it effectuates, it's consistent with your master plan and effectuates it. And in my memo, I identified several goals and recommendations, which is what this TC zone addresses. Most importantly, it is also going to effectuate your housing element fair share plan. So it's my recommendation that it's consistent with the master plan.
Any questions?
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Can one of you refresh my recollection about what the timing was on this? Because I know we were supposed to have had time to review a prior draft, but then we didn't because it had to go to council, and then it has to be in this plan or something? So the timing is,
So we were supposed to, the subcommittee that was established for oversight on this or input, she sent an email out that 2 Tuesdays ago, not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before, it had to go to the town council in their packet
the next day.
from,
Yeah, that day or whatever, yes.
right, or the next day, yes. And so there was no time for us to set up a meeting because of the time crunch.
So then what we are looking at now
Was
is,
worked on by Sam, Greg, our zoning code official. They worked on it together to come up with what the product is before you without our suggestions or input because there was no time for them. Now, the suggestions and input that we would have had probably, I don't know, if you have one now, please
so-
state it.
No, but so then the version that we've got for this meeting went before town council
Yes.
and was
Introduce.
introduced.
Correct.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
sorry that we ran out of time.
And just so you know, we worked on it within 2 days of the meeting, like, we turned it around in 3 or 4 days at the most. I think there was just no time, and that was, we convened on 1 day notice, and it took us a day to do it, and then it went to the council. So, I mean, that's,
And typically, it's under the governing body's purview. So just so that everybody understands that portion, we have Mayor and Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor here. We've been going back and forth for at least 6 months on that, if you remember. The last time we spoke was October 2024, and we couldn't introduce it at that time because of the affordable housing ordinances. And, Mr. Massara took a look at it from a legal point of view, and Ms. Mish took a look at it because at the end of the day, any application she has to review to see that. But but unfortunately, the way the timing was, we didn't have much time.
I have a couple of comments. The term medical office, which is found within the definition section on page 3 of 9 of the document. At the end of it, it talks about what medical office does not include as a use. But those words, medical clinics, urgent care centers, outpatient surgical centers, ambulatory surgical center, retail care clinics, or behavioral health care clinics or facilities remain undefined in our zoning code. And so I understand that if something is not specified, but that, I just don't know if those exclusions should be encompassed by definition.
I would defer to our attorney. What do you think?
He's my attorney.
I mean, you don't have to define everything, obviously.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance, Jess just pointed it out to me today, in a prior email that she had sent. I haven't had a chance to digest it. I'm not sure that it has to be defined.
Okay.
Just because it's mentioned doesn't mean, I think you have to look at it globally, and does it have any impact in how we interpret anything?
Okay.
And do you think, if you think it causes an interpretation issue, then it perhaps should be resolved, but I'm not sure that it does.
Well, an interpretation that has a consequence, right?
Right.
Well, that's my fear.
But I'm trying to think through the consequences of those businesses.
Well, in town center, they would.
They're not permitted in the town center, though. This is a medical office.
Which is not a listed, I understand it's not a permitted use, and it's not listed as a permitted use.
Right, so
But-
it's not listed as a permitted use, then it's a prohibited use, even if it's not on the prohibited list. But I think in our conversation earlier today, where we had things like urgent care, so we're saying you can't have an urgent care, but yet we don't have a definition of what an urgent care is. So to Mr. Bressy's point, is there something that if, let's say there's another zoning officer, would they take urgent care and look at it without a definition and try to reasonably put it into another category? Not that that hasn't happened before.
I mean, that could happen with any trail.
Right. So that's the question. Do we have to define everything that we're saying
Well, when you
that we
exclude
don't
it,
do it?
but you leave them, it's like a hanging chat. That's sort of how I saw it. So I just thought maybe to be safe, define it just the same way you defined commercial entertainment, but it's not permitted in town center. Commercial entertainment, like dance clubs and theaters with episodic, cars coming all to an 8 o'clock show when there's no parking, is not a permitted use in this town center zone. So it's defined, but it's not permitted. I'm just saying these remain undefined, and I just wondered whether you wanted to. I'm just throwing it out there. You can have a discussion else at another time if you want.
It seems like there's no opportunity for any of that to be taken into account anyway, given the timing of including it with this plan, which is why I was asking that.
It could always be modified at a later date.
And I
At a
also
later
don't
date,
know that
yeah.
it's not a ministerial change just to add a definition. It's not like
I
a,
feel like similarly, I picked up a few places where I think that things could be, I'll say tightened up and a little more consistent, but I very much understand the time pressure
Yeah.
that occurred here, so I'm not trying to say that in any kind of like critical or negative way. But I also, as I was going through this in detail, I thought, what really is the timing here? And it has to be an appendix to this plan, and we're on these tight timeframes. I don't think that, I didn't see anything I thought was big enough to be a huge issue for that, but I do think there's places that could be tightened up.
There's always the opportunity. This, as Sam said, the timing of this kind of had to coincide with, right, and it couldn't be finalized until it meshed with the affordable plan. But recall last month or 2 months ago, the board had an issue with the definition of mechanical pool equipment
Yes, yeah.
and made a recommendation to the governing body that the language of the ordinance be modified. The board did it. The governing body modified it. Actually, I talked to Jen today, and they're modifying that language. So the issue can survive this passage.
Right.
And it's something to bring up, on any ordinance, on any zoning ordinance, if anybody sees anything. The problem, however, when you try to modify the zoning ordinance by taking out specific parts, is often you then have to look back or compare to justify other sections, and before you know it, you're rewriting the whole code. So you have to be careful about, just picking, bits and pieces, but.
So I just want to quickly add to this so that everybody understands. The MLUL, basically, your zoning ordinances have to be precise, but not too specific. The second thing, most importantly, is as Greg said, that if there's an issue of interpretation, you go to the governing body. The third thing that the MLUL allows is, for example, if there's a disagreement, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily it's going to happen, but, a hypothetical situation, if there's a disagreement, it's always you go back to the zoning board for an interpretation. The MLUL allows you to do that. So there are different mechanisms that are there, but unless there's something substantive, it like you said, it doesn't make sense, nitpicking it, if you will. So I leave it again, of course, to the board for your recommendations, but this ordinance has been vetted for quite a while.
There's one issue
Sure.
that I do have, and I'm sorry, I just want to interject
sure,
here.
sure.
On page 8, under conditional use requirements applicable to all mixed uses, it's under 8.3B. There's a caveat, except for those in town center district, but 2 of those do apply to the town center district. So I'm not happy with that being a main caveat of the entire subsection. I think that it should say, except for when indicated otherwise, and then just add it to the 50/50 principle, except or shall not be, applicable in the town center zone, and the 20% of the lot being reserved for open space and landscaping shall not be applicable in the town center zone. But when you generalize the entire section, when two of those actually do apply, Article 12, parking for mixed-use development, and the landscape buffer of 15 feet, they both apply.
So
I just don't like that it says it except for in town center.
I can respond to that. For both those, the parking, we have it actually in the town center.
I know that.
Okay.
And
So-
you have the buffer twice.
Correct. One, because as a part of the conditional use, which would, if people were not to comply, it would be a D3, but otherwise, for a principally permitted, it becomes a C. So my question then is, when we make a recommendation, what are you suggesting I put in there?
I just think it causes an unnecessary inherent conflict within the document itself. So I'm making a comment, do with it what you will.
Right, but I mean, I want to see, I want to defer to our attorney, because what does everybody think? I'm here to listen and make these recommendations, but I just wanted to explain what was the rationale when we wrote the way we did.
Okay. I would just,
I mean, it's not something, it's something that personally, when Stan said she'd, defer to me, I'd have to look at it in context to the rest of the, the ordinance, and then see what it refers to before, it's not something I could look at right now and say, oh, yeah,
Okay.
it sounds good. But,
it should be tweaked at some point in the future,
It could
not
be
right
tweaked
now.
at some point in the future, absolutely. That's what we were just saying. Like, it's just something, if you think something could be made, made more clear, or more clear,
Yeah.
then certainly, the board can, make that recommendation to the governing body.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Jack, Mayor.
Just one, going back to this medical office definition. And forgive me for not bringing this up during the council meeting, but when I just heard Kathleen mention that if something's not specifically a permitted use, then it's a non-permitted use, it's a prohibited use. There are a couple things in the medical office definition that are traditionally things that we have allowed in downtown.
Like prescription glasses, people.
Well, like an optometrist, chiropractor. I mean, I'm just thinking, when I went through this definition again, I'm starting to think of all the services that are currently there. So I'm just going through. There are several dentists along in our town center. There is a physical therapy center in our town. A couple chiropractors in the town center. There used to be 2 optometrists, now there's 1. And then in a lot of the retail space that we have, there's retail on the first floor, professional office on the second floor. There are therapists, psychologists, people like that occupy the second floor of the buildings, not necessarily the first floor. So I wouldn't want an urgent care or an outpatient surgical center. I mean, I don't know where anybody would put one anyway. But, some medical group came in and tore down, tried to tear down the town center and put up an urgent care facility, I would be.
Well, also like a ginormous medical practice.
Medical thing. So that's why I kind of feel like a medical, when the definition was like medical building, we definitely didn't want to call it medical building, but I'm just thinking if we should just.
You can't define medical building.
Well, that's it. So I'm just thinking maybe we should kind of strip out or make a recommendation back to the council, I suppose, to strip out some of these, or exempt certain of these items from the town center. So my worry is, well, you'll have, because right now, everything would be grandfathered with people who are there. But let's say those folks leave, and now you have an eyeglass dispensary / optometrist, that you have a building set up for this, and you have somebody coming in and willing to provide that service, when the town has a desert for that service, they're not allowed.
Well, it would carry.
Oh, so that, if it were previously used, that would be
Yeah.
there, but it's not.
But there is a definition for a healthcare facility that actually encompasses quite a few hospitals, mental hospital, public health care, diagnostic center, treatment center, rehabilitation center, skilled nursing homes, maternity hospitals, outpatient clinic, dispensary, home health care agency, boarding home, some odd things that I don't see where they come together. Laboratories, institutions, but excluding institutions that provide healing solely by prayer.
I guess
So I don't know if we add that.
I don't think we necessarily need to fix this tonight, because we're probably not going to have a acute issue with this just because of the timeline, but just thinking that if you have like a therapist or somebody like that wants to occupy a space that used to be held by an accountant, and it's on the second floor of the building on Bloomfoot Avenue, that otherwise isn't affecting the center of town, we kind of have an issue,
I mean, a
so.
lot of kids walk after school and go to those sorts of services in this area.
Well, that's it. And
Right
it's like,
downtown.
and even for like chiropractic, a lot of their business plan is to have these kind of Main Street businesses, right?
No,
So just as
that's
I don't want to anger necessarily
a no.
the community really by not allowing something in town that people might be looking for. So just, I think that's either something that we could edit on. I don't think this is necessarily inconsistent with the master plan, which is our goal tonight, but just spitballing out there that it might be something that we can either, strike at the council meeting or try to include a definition in that, or include an exemption, the following, would be exempt from this prohibition. Or go in your prohibited use area and just say, prohibited use, or permitted use is the following. You could just put in permitted use, a medical office with, the following tenant or whatever, and then in the prohibited use, a medical office with any.
Medical office has been removed. I think medical use is defined. We no longer contain the term medical office.
No, you do.
We do?
Not medical building.
Not medical building.
Medical office, right, but not medical building. That's what I meant.
So just something, I leave it to Sam to see if there's something you can figure out on that end.
Yeah, I think, Kathleen, when we had discussed, right, I remember when we were going back and forth about the medical office, I think there was do you recall why we included this? Because this is something that was added later. I don't believe originally what I had prepared had that. And it's okay, I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to remember what we had discussed.
I don't honestly.
Yeah, that's okay. Because I know this was like added, but just so that I understand, Mr. Mayor, you're saying at a later date to go back and just tweak the definition of medical office to basically allow these kind of an optometrist and all those uses in the TC zone, correct? That's what you're saying.
Yes, anything that traditionally has been in the TC zone. So the ones I think would be specific, sorry, going back to that, would be physical therapy, dentists, chiropractic, optometry, psychologist.
So what are we doing? Are we,
I had another question on, I saw that amusement machine was removed. I was just curious, is that like touch tunes and
what kind of
pinball
machine?
machines? It has amusement machine and other, any automatic mechanical machine or device, entertainment or music vending machine, which is like touch tune. So if you have like a
What
facility.
page are you on?
I'm looking at page 1.
Oh,
The definition.
amusement machine.
Section
Oh,
1.
yes.
So I was trying to figure out what's wrong with a pinball machine, I'm thinking, or touch tunes or things.
If you look further in, I think,
Commercial entertainment.
no, would it be under commercial? But commercial entertainment is not a permitted use.
Well, but the difference.
It is conditionally permitted in the TC zone.
It's not a permitted use in this particular document, is it?
No, conditionally permitted. If you go down, you'll see that this is conditionally permitted. It's on page 7, 3 and 4 show new conditional uses.
Okay. So commercial entertainment would,
Jim, that's only removed from a definition. It's not prohibiting pinball machines. It was just struck from the definition.
I was just upset about the pinball machine.
And put under commercial entertainment.
right,
I just like pinball machines.
game rooms. You like the game rooms. Quarters. Bring your quarters with you. Deputy Mayor, did you have a question?
San,
Yeah.
across, in your experience, have people added pharmacies to this? And where would they categorize pharmacies?
I just said, that's retail.
Yeah.
That's retail. It comes under retail. Like you'll see in so many downtowns, including the town I live in, a CVS right in the downtown area. So
That's permitted.
yeah, it wouldn't stop that. You know, the other thing I do want to reiterate is if this we need to adopt to meet our compliance, but say a month down the line or 2 months down the line,
Right.
you know, if there's an issue, and even to your point, Ms. Pearson, you know, I understand where you're coming from with the TC. If we find that that's an issue, we most certainly can make a recommendation and tweak it.
It doesn't have to happen today, I guess.
Yeah.
Same as you.
But-
I just
and-
wanted to bring it.
No,
to
thank
your
you,
attention.
yes.
And just for the board's edification, this came from the council. This was not something that we drafted out of, and whole cloth. Kathleen and Sam worked on it with the council. So we were given something to work with to do the best we could in a short period of time, and to make sure we comply. The overriding factor again is
Correct.
the affordable compliance.
Are there, Kathleen?
I was just going to say, under retail service establishment is a store that sells services such as drugstore, opticians, travel agencies,
Right.
real
that's-
estate offices.
We do,
Yeah.
thank you. I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Yes, we have it, Mr. Mayor. Because I know we had this discussion. It's under, yeah.
What's wrong?
No, it's good.
Like, I'm trying to figure out, is there
I move to
something?
find this not inconsistent with the master plan.
We have a motion to find this not inconsistent with the master plan. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor seconds. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Magarel,
Yes.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Lilly,
Yes.
Mr. Fesky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy.
Yes.
Township Manager O'Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Burrow,
Yes.
Chair Pearson.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. And the final agenda item for this evening is the hearing for the redevelopment plan for 176 Bloomfield Avenue. Madam Secretary, please notate that I will be recusing myself for the balance of this meeting.
Madam Secretary, please note that I will also be recusing myself because I live within 150 feet of this.
No, you're going to say because I live with her?
And I've gone ahead, and if it's okay, I've asked the mayor to take over chairing the rest of this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. All right. Ms. Siobhan, you're up again on, everybody received your memorandum and the actual redevelopment plan.
So I will just provide a brief summary, which is written in the redevelopment, the memo that accompanied the redevelopment plan. This 176 Bloomfield Avenue was a part of a settlement agreement between the Township of Verona and DMH2. As Dan mentioned, it's a part of our redevelopment. It's part
Shan,
of,
I'm sorry, Shan, I'm sorry, could you just hold on a minute until Jack and Jess?
We can hear it. We could sit
You're
in the
still,
audience.
you're still up at
Oh,
the
I'm
dais
sorry.
and
Trying to get
just
going.
trying to,
No, I can wait. That's fine.
trying to defend
The mayor
litigation
wants
before
it
it
to hurry
starts.
up.
But you're at the dais.
Madam Chair, take your time. I can wait.
I just eliminated point 2 of the plaintiff's brief. Yeah?
Oops.
Thanks. I can now attack Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right, great. 176 Bloomfield Avenue, as I mentioned, was a settlement of a lawsuit filed by DMH2 against the Township of Verona. Similar to these other settlement agreements, this has been going on for almost a year and a half, and it finally got settled. A settlement agreement was drafted and executed by November 2025, and one of the requirements of that was preparation of an redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan that was written reflected entirely what was a part of the settlement agreement. And our role here is to basically see if the redevelopment plan is consistent with the master plan, and what they are proposing to do, as you can see from the actual redevelopment plan that was submitted, is it is a 3-story, 100% residential. It's opposite Annan Loft, so there was a conversation that was had that continue keeping the character of Annan Loft, and we also put in some design standards, and we also worked with them to have a conservation easement along the rear of the property line so that it's away from the residential homes, and also to set the building back, so whoever lives in the houses can only see two stories of this development. And finally, I think, what else did we? And we put in design standards, building materials, because what happens is when you do that through the redevelopment, you can enforce it. So that's the beauty of having a redevelopment as opposed to a conventional zoning ordinance. Now, when you look at the consistency with the 2022 master plan, again, it meets quite a few of the land use goals of promoting growth in appropriate areas. It also considers a diverse range of housing options, and it, guides future development without disrupting the established character of the township. And this is opposite Annan Lofts, as I just mentioned. And most importantly, it also helps to meet the municipal obligation to provide the township of Verona its fair share of affordable housing. And as Dan mentioned, DMH2 was one of the interveners. Because of the settlement, they backed out of it. So that's also another important point.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Siobhan? I will just mention that, I think I reviewed the plan and it included, of course, all the components that we had discussed at length during this meeting as far as design standards and in the council meetings as well. So I appreciate that you incorporating all of that. And I appreciate everybody who also negotiated those items with the developer, because there were challenging times with this developer, for sure.
And I would like to acknowledge our planning board attorney, our township attorney, and Mr. O'Sullivan. So it was a very much a team effort.
Thanks.
Did the blasting concerns come up and were they addressed?
No blasting.
No plastic.
By moving it closer to Bloomfield Avenue, there's no need for it.
So that was one. And then another thing that they offered as a part of the negotiation was a conservation easement to the rear, so that there'll be no development at all in that area.
How large is that easement?
I think it's like 40 or 50 feet, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know on the top of my head.
It's the portion between the edge of the property and the retaining wall, essentially. Right. So I'm not sure whether it's 30, 40, or 50 feet, but it's almost that entire portion.
It's the existing wooded area.
Right. It's what's existing. Right.
I was going to ask, I see a retaining wall, but that's got to be a pretty big retaining wall.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty high.
It's high.
Yeah.
It's not as high as it would have been if we allowed them to do their original. I mean, if they did not allow, the court allowed them to do their original plan. With their original plan, it would have been.
It is 40 feet, the actual easement line.
I have a question
Sure.
with that location. I know that the Everett Field construction is going on, but then also I'm assuming at some point the firehouse will be moving or redeveloped or something. How much of that was factored in when it came to like traffic and pedestrian usage and all of that, like when it came to the consideration in that area? Because I feel like it's such a small concentration of a lot of changes.
I don't, in any redevelopment discussion, unfortunately, we don't talk, parking is essential, obviously, but we don't talk about traffic, one doesn't discuss traffic.
Got it.
So.
Dylan, you won't see site work on this until Everfield is completed.
That's correct, and I think the other important part of the discussion is that the applicant will be required to submit a site plan application for code for the planning board, at which point you have an opportunity to discuss traffic impacts and ask for traffic statements for traffic engineers at that time as well.
And just to remind the board that a redevelopment plan, it looks fancier than like a regular ordinance, but it is actually an ordinance. So it's
And
only
the
in New
last thing-
Jersey.
I'm sorry, Sam. The last thing is, this started out as a litigation years and years ago.
Yeah.
So the lawsuit kind of morphed into a settlement that there was a subcommittee of the planning board, or maybe the whole planning board, less people who had conflicts, I don't remember.
No, it was the whole planning
It was the
board.
whole planning board.
It was the Whispering Woods.
That agreed, right, okay, well, it was even
But it-
before the Whispering Woods,
Oh, okay.
there was, to try to accommodate what they requested without total capitulation. So there was some framework. Before then, it turned into, before then, we got the 4 units for the affordable, but there was a lot of negotiation, and, Sam gave everybody else credit, but Sam dug her heels in on behalf of the town, and really, didn't budge on a lot of issues. So everybody believes that it was the best result that the town could have gotten, given the external factors of the lawsuit that, they were somewhat successful on. And then the affordable housing issue. So,
Right.
Something was going to be built there. And it was just a matter of trying to contain it. And that's where, you give Sam the credit for that. So-
Understood.
Yeah, I mean, by way of background, the courts granted the relief to them to build their original building that they had applied for, which was a 50-50, a 3-story 50-50 residential commercial building. So it would have had a very awkward second floor with half residential, half offices. We're not really sure how that would work. And it would have required blasting into that slope that was there. So the applicant and the board had to, the applicant could have built that, and they might have built it out of spite, but, the applicant, and because of the, definitely the pretty significant concerns that were had, so the board and the applicant had to work to find an agreeable conclusion. So normally, you would have that 50-50 kind of thing, which is what we're changing. So this is an all residential building, similar to like Ann and Lofts across the street. In order to do that, we pulled the building closer to Bloomfield Avenue, which eliminated the need for blasting. They wanted 3 stories over a parking garage. We pulled the parking garage out and relaxed some of the parking requirements, and supplied them permit parking in the center of town, down the street quite a bit. But in order to relax the parking requirements, so we wouldn't have a 3/1 parking garage building, which effectively would have meant that the people on the 4th floor of that building would have been looking into the backyards of surrounding houses on Westview, which was the issue, despite, the developer claiming that they had spoken to all the residents, which they did not. But we put in additional things like on the roof, screening all of the equipment and screening like a roof deck and all that stuff in order to allow those neighbors to have, some semblance of normalcy if the building goes in. So this was a pretty extensive negotiation by the board, by the township, by pretty much everybody to get this one done. And this has been going on for how many years, Greg? 12?
Before COVID, right, that's why I look at things now, COVID, but the original application was in front of the board probably in 13.
Yeah.
I think there was an original iteration that was in front of the zoning board that got denied, if I remember, and then they went to the planning board.
Okay.
And then, I believe that's the case, the planning board, it was retail first floor, residential on the second, so it conformed. So that's why it went back to the planning board then, and, so it's definitely more than 10 years, absolutely.
It has definitely been quite a process. Any other?
Still discussion on parking at Everett's Field?
No, they were not allowed parking at Everett Field, right?
Yeah, so the way the settlement reads is that it's at a parking lot to be determined by the township. So it could be any of the municipal parking lots that we choose. But the intention would be to put them in one of the center of town municipal parking lots.
Is that realistic though?
Well, there's questions as to the ability to put them into the Everett Field parking lot as it relates to the open space designations and any restrictions from when the township acquired the Everett site. So it was a term that they agreed to when it was presented to them.
And it's a landlord problem.
Yeah.
If there's no parking, then tenants won't rent.
Yeah.
I mean, so the town does not have to provide, the town has to offer the permits. But again, they are where the town resides. And so.
The developer these are largely smaller units, and the developer is marketing these to commuters. So they're not as concerned because they believe that people may only, even if a couple lives there, they'll have one car. But, realistically, they can, the 29 bus drives, there's a stop there, and they can take the 29 bus to the center of town and actually access their car that way. So if somebody really had that issue or can bid for parking space, it's not our problem anymore as soon as we approve this. So let's approve it. Any other discussion? No. Okay, at this.
I'm sorry, what was the final amount of units that was reduced, right?
28 units.
28.
Sorry.
Total 28 units with 4 affordables.
Because I know their last proposal was like.
I mean, like the 36, they're.
38.
38, right.
36.
With the brutalist architecture building.
So we negotiated.
Is that the
28.
brutalist?
Yes, it is.
Brutalist there?
It is the brutalist era. Go to Washington, D.C. and look at any government building that's not a Greek temple, it's a brutalist building. All right, at this time, I'll hear a motion to find the redevelopment plan for 176 Bloomfoot Avenue to be not inconsistent with the master plan.
So
The motion is made by the township manager. Is there a second?
Second.
The second, I heard Mr. Day, thank you, down on this side. Is there any further discussion? Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Magarel?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
yes.
Mr. Fresky?
Yes.
Ms. Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
That's it.
Is there any other new business or unfinished business to come before the board? Hearing none, I'll hear a motion to adjourn. Motion is made by Mr. Day. Is there a second?
Second.
The second is made by Mr. Lilly. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed can stay here. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Sam,
Yes.
if somebody straight up just wanted to build something in town,
Okay.
8 units,